This is the Living Vertizano podcast, brought to you by The Church at Riverstone, a fellowship of the Church of the Nazarene in Madera, California. We are a podcast that discusses the intersection of Scripture and our lives. Together, we continue the conversation that was started each preceding Sunday morning in our worship gathering.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nick.
I'm Natasha.
I'm Brittany.
I'm Derek.
And we are the Living Vertizontal podcast, all back together again. And happy Easter, everybody. We are now officially in Eastertide. Even though that is the case, this conversation we're going to be having today is going to kind of be closing out the Lent series that we have been working through. Our Lent series, because we were following the My Cup Runneth Over devotional from the Foundry, ends with Easter Sunday. I know that's a little untraditional, but that's what we're doing. So, as a quick reminder, last week we moved into the sixth and final week of the season of Lent. And as a part of that, we looked at a number of different passages throughout the Gospels of Matthew, Luke, and John, all of which related to Jesus's last words or the final sayings of Jesus. Together, we discussed how the 7 final sayings of Jesus paint a clear picture of the kingdom of heaven, and that at the core of it all is an example of and an invitation to a deeper trust and dependence on Him. This week, as I said, though the season of Lent is over, we are concluding our Lent series with a conversation on Easter. The passage from My Cup Runneth Over was the entirety of Matthew chapter 28. So that's going to be our scripture for the day, which works with the resurrection of Jesus and other events surrounding his resurrection. We have Brittany reading for us today. So, Brittany, could you read Matthew chapter 28?
Yes, Matthew 28. Early on Sunday morning, as the new day was dawning, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went out to visit the tomb. Suddenly, there was a great earthquake, for an angel of the Lord came down from heaven, rolled aside the stone, and sat on it. His face shone like lightning, and his clothing was white as snow. The guards shook with fear when they saw him, and they fell into a dead faint. Then the angel spoke to the women. "Don't be afraid," he said. "I know you are looking for Jesus who was crucified. He isn't here. He is risen from the dead, just as he said he would happen. Come, see where his body was laying, and go quickly and tell his disciples that he has risen from the dead, and he is going ahead of you to Galilee. You will see him there. Remember what I told you." The women ran quickly from the tomb. They were very frightened, but also filled with great joy, and they rushed to give the disciples the angel's message. And as they went, Jesus met them and greeted them, and they ran to him, grasped his feet, and worshipped him. Then Jesus said to them, "Don't be afraid. Go tell my brothers to leave for Galilee, and they will see me there." As the women were on their way, some of the guards went into the city and told the leading priests what had happened. A meeting with the elders was called, and they decided to give the soldiers a large bribe. They told the soldiers, "You must say, Jesus' disciples came during the night while we were sleeping and stole his body. If the governor hears about it, we'll stand up for you so you won't get in trouble." So the guards accepted the bribe and said what they were told to say. Their story spread widely among the Jews, and they still tell it today. Then the 11 disciples left for Galilee, going to the mountain where Jesus had told them to go. When they saw him, they worshipped him, but some of them doubted. Jesus came and told his disciples, "I have been given all authority in heaven and on earth. Therefore, go and make disciples of all the nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Teach these new disciples to obey all the commands I have given you. And be sure of this, I am with you always, even to the end of the age."
All right. Thank you for reading that for us today, Brittany. So let's just jump into this conversation, this Easter conversation. What are you seeing as we work through this passage or reflect on this last week?
I think the first thing that really pops out to me is the when. So it says, after the Sabbath, at dawn on the first day of the week. And when I think of dawn, like I think of a new day. We've come through the night, and I think of a new day. And it seems appropriate for what's taking place, that it's a new day, like something new is happening. And so that's the first thing that kind of sticks out in my mind as I look at this.
Yeah, I mean, I know, at least in our last podcast, we didn't necessarily talk pointedly or specifically about maybe the heaviness of everything because, well, it was based on the triumphal entry conversation. Even though it was the 7 final sayings of Jesus, like it was tinted with this victory understanding. That said, it's not until you kind of work through the rhythms of Holy Week that you find yourself kind of experiencing, when you get to Good Friday and Holy Saturday, experiencing the heaviness of the situation, the reality of the fact that, like, as a disciple, as one of these women who, goes to the tomb on the dawn of this day, like, they are living in this space where the person that they were following, the person that was supposed to be the Messiah, the person that was supposed to do all these things that so many had such high expectations of, was dead. And yes, he had made statements like, I'll come back in 3 days. Like, these are things that were said. And so maybe there was like a glimmer of hope that these people had. And I would imagine the women are going because they do have a glimmer of hope. And yet we know that hope is regularly accompanied by like this potential of doubt, or this fear of doubt that might creep in. And so I think identifying this dawn, this new day, this new beginning is important, because to this point, like they are in a place of mourning, a place of sadness, a place of uncertainty, a place of fear even. I mean, because we know from other gospel accounts, like the disciples are all together in locked rooms, right? Like trying to close themselves away, insulate themselves, protect themselves, lest this would also happen to them. And so I think you pointing that out, Derek, is very important. Yeah, it's the dawn. It's a new beginning. It's a new day that no longer is fear going to reign. And I mean, if you look at this passage is full of what are identified as imperatives. 2 of those imperatives are one from the angel and one from Jesus himself, making the statement, do not be afraid. So not only does fear not get to reign anymore just because it's a new day, it's like a new dawn, but the reason why it's a new day, the reason why it's a new dawn is Jesus has risen, and they don't have to be afraid anymore. The angel says you don't need to be afraid. Jesus says you don't need to be afraid. And so now they get to live in the dawning of this new kingdom. But these imperatives, maybe that can be something that we spend a moment talking about, because there's a number of them. So I'm going to quickly go through them. We have do not be afraid. We have come and see. So that's kind of in order. Angel says to the women, do not be afraid, come and see, inviting them into the tomb. And then the angel then says, go and tell. So come and do not be afraid, come and see, go and tell. And then they run into Jesus, and Jesus says, do not be afraid, go and tell. And then a little further, you have Jesus and the Great Commission, and you have make disciples, teach them everything I have commanded, baptize them. Like, these are the imperatives of this Matthew chapter 28.
When you look at all that's taking place around them with the violent earthquake, I imagine there would be a lot of reason for fear with seeing all these things take place, not really knowing what's going on, not really understanding what's happening. And then you see an angel and it's like, do not be afraid. Are you kidding me? Do you see all that's taking place around
I'll get
me?
right on that. Yeah.
But as this new dawn, this new day has this new kingdom is being ushered in, all that caused fear before has been really removed.
Mm-hmm.
And so this imperative to do not fear comes from a place of like, there really is nothing to fear. What you waited for is before you, whether you really recognize it at this point. And even I imagine as they're going through, even though they're obedient, I imagine they're still like this, like, are we really seeing what we're seeing taking place before us?
Mm-hmm.
I think I was struck by by that statement of do not be afraid also, but it seems interesting to me that the angels say, do not be afraid. And then the women turn and it says, afraid, yet filled with joy. They go to do what was said. And so that's the response to the angels. And it's like Jesus cares enough that they're going in fear to then appear to them and say, no, do not be afraid. And so it's like, I don't know. I just feel Jesus maybe laying on my heart this thought of when we conceptually know, don't be afraid, but he cares enough about us that even when we're stuck in that conceptual, okay, don't be afraid. I'm still afraid, but I'm going to be filled with joy or filled with hope, but I'm still afraid. Jesus is ready and willing to meet us in that moment, to reveal himself to us, to come to us himself and say, do not be afraid. Now go and do what I've asked you to do. Yeah. Do not be afraid. And I think it shows amazing care for these women as they go about his mission and unveiling his kingdom in this really, really exciting moment.
Don't be afraid command is something that really speaks to me. I'm a nervous person. I'm always afraid. I don't watch scary movies. I don't like to be at home by myself. I'm just scared of my own shadow a lot of the times. But something that I learned a lot when I was growing up is my mom would always tell me, just do it afraid. Do it afraid. And I performed. I was a cheerleader, so I did performances and all these things, and I was a nervous wreck before I went on, but I would just do it, even though I was afraid. And the result was always better than I thought. I was afraid of something because I didn't know what the result was going to be. But we look at Jesus, and we look at what he did during his ministry. We saw him healing people, him speaking to people, him just the way that he generally loved people and how he obeyed the Father. Like, the fear that I have, it fails in comparison to what I know Jesus is capable of. So when I see that don't be afraid, it just reminds me that I really have nothing to fear. Because I know what comes later. I know what comes in a few verses. Jesus comes and he sees, he shows himself to them. And he's risen. Everything that he has said came true. And, just as he did, he's shown himself, like you said, Natasha, to them. He's showing himself to us too. He's there with us.
Yeah, I think in this do not be afraid statement, and as you guys have kind of been talking about and pointing out the fact that the women, afraid yet filled with joy, ran to his disciples. Much like you were saying, Brittany, like the thing that was in my mind is they were told not to be afraid. They were still afraid, but they didn't allow that fear to prevent them from doing what they were called to do. And I think for us, like that is a really important thing for us to recognize in these women and the courage that they had, but also that we ought to have as well. Like, I know you were sharing that you're afraid of everything, Brittany. I'm, wanting to be macho, but the reality is I'm also very afraid of a lot of things. Don't like scary movies either.
Or heights.
Or heights at all. would prefer not to be at home alone. All those things. I don't even like the dark. I would prefer my shadow to the dark. So I guess that's where we're a little different. Anyways, but it is so easy to allow fear to be the thing that guides us, the thing that keeps us from doing things, the thing that makes us choose one thing over the other. Like, it is so easy for fear to be the thing that leads our lives. But for these women, that's not what guided them. Despite their fear, they went to tell. And I think for us, like, we have to find ourselves in that same place. I mean, following Jesus is not usually very glamorous. In fact, it can take you into scary places. It can take you into scary situations. It can take you into terrifying, circumstances, just in life in general. And I'm not talking like horror circumstances. I'm talking about like just difficult things as it relates to finances, as it relates to comfort. Like, you can broaden this way out. And the call that Jesus has in our lives and where he's asking us to go, like, it can take us into scary places. And it would be very easy to allow our fear to be the thing that guides and dictates what we choose to do and what we allow obedience to look like.
And makes us become like the soldiers instead of like the women.
Right. Exactly. As you point out, the soldiers, everything they did was guided and led and motivated by fear. And what did that result in? The soldiers took money, a bribe, and did as they were instructed. And this false story that they were told has been widely circulated among the Jews to this very day. So their acquiescence to fear, their decision to give in to fear and be guided by fear, resulted in the propagation of a lie that has resulted in people rejecting the reality of Jesus' resurrection. And there's entire religious groups, faith-based groups, rooted in this lie, all because a group of people were motivated and led and guided by fear. But then at the same time, you have this sharp contrast of these women who were not guided and led and motivated by their fear. And as a result of that, we also have a whole nother branch of people who could trace their origins back to them, to this truth of the resurrection of Jesus Christ. And I guess just with that, we need to hear that. We need to hear just how impactful our fear can be, both in our own lives and in the lives of those around us and those that maybe aren't even around us yet.
And as we transition into this Great Commission portion, the last 4 or 5 verses, we see that the disciples make it to where Mary and Mary were instructed to tell them to go. And so we see the obedience on the part of the women, and we see the obedience on the part of the disciples in getting there. And now we see them be reconnected with Jesus and what that looks like going forward and his commission that he is going to give them. And even again, as we even saw with the women, some of them began, when they see him, they worship him. And also we see some doubted. Don't know how many some is. I would assume that means more than one, but there are some who I'm assuming are remembering the words that Jesus has said up to this point and are recognizing that he really did do what he said he was said he was going to do. And for others, that it's still a struggle. This belief is a tricky thing for them.
I wonder how much of that is rooted in fear, though. like thinking about, okay, so he is who he said he is. Like he came back to life. Like, so he's the Messiah. But at what cost am I willing to really go, like in pursuit of this Messiah, where following him looks like death on a cross? Like that's still scary to me. I don't want to die. And so I wonder how many of the some that doubted, right? We don't know what that is, what number that is, but I wonder how many of the some that doubted, the root of the doubt is actually fear of what may come in following this crucified Messiah.
Well, because they've seen what the cost was for him.
Right.
And we know that he asks to consider these things, like to consider this cost in following him.
Yep.
And so there probably is an element of that, considering this cost. Like, am I really willing to go to this length to share what I've been like absorbed for the last 3+ years?
Well, and I think that's, going on to Jesus's Great Commission. When I look at it, I think of going and making disciples, baptizing them and teaching them. That's scary. That's a lot of responsibility. I feel inadequate. But how far am I willing to go? Am I willing to count the costs and do it anyway? Am I willing to do it even though I'm afraid? Are we willing to sacrifice everything for the sake of making disciples, baptizing them, and teaching them? Are we willing to take that step, to do it afraid?
As he's given them these imperatives, this great commission, this command to go and make disciples, to baptize them, and to teach them to obey. If I look at the women who shared this good news with the disciples, I feel like they may have been the first ones to understand that he is always with them to the very end of the age. I know that there's nothing here to connect that, and that this may be a stretch, but they were given the command to go and tell the disciples, and he told them to not be afraid, and they went and did as they were told to do. And I think that there was this element of knowing that he was with them because everything that he had said before this was true. Everything that he told them that was going to happen was true. And if he told them there was no reason to be afraid in the going, I believe that they really understood that he was there with them. And so, I mean, that's the beauty of this commission that he has given us, like these directives that he's given us. It's not in the going, like, because he knows we're going, but it's in the doing, in the making of disciples, and knowing that we don't have to do it alone, because he has said that he is with us to the end of the age. Going can be scary. There's no doubt about that. Like, life is scary. There are times when we were sharing before we were on air about just, routine, everyday life things like being on a scooter, being on a bike, and how those things can be scary as we see our kids and other kids do those things. But we do them anyway. And so we go in life, but know that you're not going alone. That this new day has dawned, this new kingdom has come, and he is going with us. We're not alone. They weren't alone, and as they will go on to what we see through the early church and beyond, he is still with them doing helping to fulfill the commission through them.
I think something that this passage, working through this passage today, and also reading the final reading for our My Cup Runneth Over on Easter Sunday, something that has really stuck out to me is the author of My Cup Runneth Over made this, identified the two of the directives from this passage, which were come and see, go and tell. But then as we worked through the directives today, thinking about the Great Commission, I feel like I didn't realize just how much of all of Matthew 28, I feel like, can be summarized by come and see and go and tell. Like I am a huge fan of Matthew 28, 16 through 20. The Great Commission, I think, is a very important thing. I believe it's foundational to who we are as a church. And yet, I feel like its roots are found with the women, with their invitation to come and see and then go and tell. And as you read through the Great Commission and what Jesus is commanding his disciples to do, he's commanding them to go and tell as a result of what they have come and seen. Seeing him there, walking with him in the years of ministry before, like they have seen, and now it's time to go and tell. And so I think about that for us, and I feel like too many of us, too much of the church today is stuck in the come and see, or the desire to see. Like that's our focus. Like I need to come and see. I need to come and be fed. I need to come, like for me, I want to see. But as we look at take a step back from all of Matthew 28, the invitation to come and see was never the end. It was never even the focal point. It was just the avenue by which to get to the go and tell. That said, you can't have one without the other. Like you can't just have come and see and you can't just have go and tell. Like they are a continual unit. Come and see, go and tell. Come and see, go and tell. Come and see, go and tell. And as I think about who we are as a church and the things that we practice in particular as a local body, I mean, we are regularly talking about the importance of recognizing what Jesus is doing even today. Not just what he did when he rose from the dead, but recognizing what he is doing even today. The invitation to come and see. But then as a part of that conversation, another question that we respond to is like, what is it that Jesus is calling us to do around us? Go and tell. But what does that specifically look like this week for me to go and tell, right? I've come and I've seen. Now I need to go and tell. And this kind of infinity loop of come and see, go and tell is the thing that should be perpetuating the church forward. But I feel like, unfortunately, we found ourselves stuck in a rut somewhere along the way because we're in this hole of just come and see. And we are writing off or excusing the go and tell. Or maybe we're just afraid to move forward. Maybe we're afraid of what somebody might think of us based on what I've seen, because it's a little weird. So I'm afraid to go and tell. But this season of Lent that we have been through, this season of preparation, has set us up perfectly to recognize the importance of these imperatives lived out in our lives on a daily basis. Each and every single day, we have the opportunity and the invitation to come and see. And each and every single day, we have the expectation to go and tell. And so this week, I mean, what is it going to look like for you? What have you seen Jesus doing lately? And who is he asking you to go and tell about it?
It's been a good journey through the season of Lent and into Easter. Next week, we will return to our study on the book of Luke. A study companion entitled Midweek Meditations, A Journey Through Luke, Part 2, is available for purchase on Amazon. Be sure to follow the Living Vertizontal podcast to stay current on all our new releases. To learn more about the Church at Riverstone, visit us at thechurchatriverstone.org.